Have you ever seen pain in the eyes of someone who can't speak? Deep in a silent jungle, a German shepherd lay chained to a tree, left to die by the very human he trusted the most. He was sick, starving, and alone. But what if I told you that this abandoned dog was once a hero, and that his story didn't end with betrayal? It began with something far greater. Would you have saved him if you had found him first? Let's uncover the heartbreaking and heroic journey of a forgotten friend. But before we begin, make sure to subscribe to this channel, like this video, and comment below where you're watching from for more stories like this. In the heart of a silent forest, where only the wind whispered through the trees, a lonely German shepherd lay chained to a thick old tree. His fur, once shiny and strong, was now matted with dirt and dried blood. His ribs showed clearly through his skin. He hadn't eaten in days. The dog's name was unknown. His owner never bothered to give him one. To the man who once claimed to love him, he was now just a burden. The dog had fallen sick, not able to run or bark like before. So one rainy morning, his owner drove him deep into the forest, tied him tightly to a tree, and walked away without looking back. The German shepherd didn't understand. He waited for hours, thinking his human would return. But as the sun disappeared behind the trees and the forest grew darker, he realized something was wrong. He barked, he cried, he waited, but no one came. Every night, cold winds blew through the trees, and he shivered. Every day, wild animals passed by, some curious, some dangerous. Once a fox came close and sniffed him. Another time, a snake slithered past his paws. But he was too weak to move, too tired to care. His eyes, once full of loyalty and life, were now dull and heavy with sadness. But deep inside, something still flickered. A small, quiet hope, the kind only a dog can have. The hope that someone, somewhere, would hear his cries. And then, something strange happened. One night, while the forest was silent and the moon was high, he heard footsteps. Not the heavy steps of a human, not the soft paws of a fox. These were light, careful steps, quiet, almost like a whisper. Suddenly, from behind the bushes, a small girl appeared. She couldn't have been more than 10 years old. She wore a red jacket and held a flashlight in her tiny hand. Her eyes met the dog's. She didn't scream. She didn't run. She stepped closer and knelt down. The German shepherd growled softly at first, afraid it was a trick. But the girl slowly reached into her pocket and pulled out a piece of bread. "Don't be scared," she whispered. "I saw you from my treehouse. I came to help." Treehouse? Help? The dog didn't understand her words, but he understood her voice. Soft, kind, and different from the angry man who had left him here. She placed the bread near him and ran back into the forest, disappearing into the trees. For the first time in days, the dog ate. It wasn't much, but it was something. And more importantly, it was hope. He didn't know who she was or if she would return. But now he wasn't alone anymore. The next morning, the forest was quiet. Too quiet. Sunlight filtered through the trees as the German shepherd lay on the cold ground, tired but with new hope in his eyes. She had come. A little girl in a red jacket. She had fed him, and then vanished into the night. Would she come again? Hours passed. The wind blew gently and birds sang in the distance. And then, footsteps. The dog lifted his head. It was her, smiling, carrying a small backpack. This time she brought more food, water, bread, and a blanket. She knelt beside him. "I'm Mia," she whispered. "I live not far from here, with my dad. He's a forest ranger. He can't know I came here. He says the jungle is dangerous." She gently poured water into a small bowl. The dog drank eagerly. Mia touched his head. The dog didn't flinch this time. His eyes closed softly under her hand. The first gentle touch he had felt in days. "I'll help you," she promised. "Tomorrow, I'll bring something to break the chain." The dog wagged his tail weakly. As Mia stood to leave, she paused. Behind the tree, something moved. She turned around quickly. Nothing. But the German shepherd's ears perked up. He growled very low. He had heard it too. Meanwhile, back at Mia's cabin, her father, Ranger Thomas, was calling for her. "Mia, where did you go?" She rushed back quietly, hiding the empty backpack. The next morning when Mia woke up, her heart racing with excitement. Today was the day she had promised the German Shepherd. Today she would free him from the chains that had bound him for so long. She quickly packed her small backpack with tools she had borrowed from her father's shed. A heavy-duty bolt cutter, a flashlight, and some more food for the dog. Mia had never done anything like this before, but she felt a strong connection with the animal. She knew she couldn't leave him behind again. As Mia entered the dense forest, the familiar sounds of the jungle greeted her. The rustling of leaves, the songs of birds in the distance, and the soft wind flowing through the trees. The forest was calm, but she could feel her heart beating faster with each step. Soon she reached the clearing where the German Shepherd had been abandoned. But something felt wrong. The air was thick with tension. The dog, who usually barked and wagged his tail when he saw her, was lying still, his eyes wide with fear. His ears were perked up, listening carefully to something in the distance. Mia crouched down beside him, gently stroking his fur. "What is it, boy? What's wrong?" she whispered. Suddenly the bushes rustled. The German Shepherd let out a low growl. Mia's heart skipped a beat as she turned toward the noise. Out of the shadows emerged a massive wild boar. Its eyes were wild and angry, and its tusks gleamed sharp in the morning light. The boar snorted and stomped its hooves, ready to charge. Mia froze. She had heard stories about wild boars, how dangerous they could be when threatened. The German Shepherd, although weak, stepped forward, growling loudly. His protective instincts kicked in. He wasn't going to let this monster harm Mia, but Mia knew the dog was too weak to fight off such a creature alone. She scrambled to her feet, her mind racing for a plan. She couldn't let the dog sacrifice himself for her. She grabbed the bolt cutters from her bag and rushed toward the chain that held the dog, hoping she could free him in time. Come on," she muttered, her hands trembling as she worked on the chain. The boar charged, heading straight for them. The dog jumped in front of Mia, snarling and barking fiercely. He lunged at the boar, biting its leg. The wild boar howled in pain, but it didn't back down. Instead, it turned its massive body and rammed the dog with its tusks. The dog yelped in pain but didn't give up. He fought back with everything he had, barking and growling, his strength fueled by the need to protect Mia. Suddenly, from behind the trees, a figure emerged. Ranger Thomas, Mia's father. He had followed her trail through the forest, sensing something was wrong. With quick precision, Thomas pulled out a tranquilizer gun and fired. The dart hit the wild boar, and within moments the massive animal fell to the ground, unconscious. Mia rushed to the German Shepherd's side, her heart in her throat. The dog was bleeding from his side, but he was still alive, breathing heavily but steady. "You saved me. You saved both of us," Mia whispered, tears in her eyes. Ranger Thomas knelt down beside the dog, gently patting his head. "You're one brave dog," he said, his voice filled with admiration. The dog looked up at him, wagging his tail weakly. It was clear that this was no ordinary dog. He had risked his life to protect them both, showing courage and loyalty beyond measure. The warm light of the oil lamp flickered in the cabin as Max, the German Shepherd, rested near the fireplace. His bandaged side rose and fell with each breath, his eyes half closed but always alert. Mia sat beside him, gently brushing his fur. She had never felt so close to an animal before. Ranger Thomas cleaned up his first aid kit but couldn't shake a feeling. "There's something different about him," he murmured. He picked up the torn collar Max had worn when they found him. Hidden under a flap was a metal tag, rusted, scratched but still readable. Thomas carefully rubbed away the grime. His eyes widened. "Property of K9 unit. Badge number 47, Max," it read. "He's a police dog?" Mia asked, astonished. Thomas nodded slowly. "He was, likely retired, maybe due to injury or age. Someone adopted him, and then threw him away like garbage when he got sick." His jaw tightened. Mia looked at Max with teary eyes. "How could anyone do that to you?" As if sensing their emotions, Max let out a soft bark, then suddenly stood up, ears alert, nose twitching. He moved to the window and growled. Thomas grabbed his flashlight and stepped outside. "What is it, boy?" Max darted ahead, limping slightly but moving with purpose. Mia followed behind, flashlight in hand. They ventured into the deeper part of the jungle, where even the moonlight barely touched the ground. Max stopped suddenly and sniffed the air, then barked twice. Up ahead, in a clearing surrounded by rocks and fallen trees, sat an abandoned wooden shack. Thomas crouched behind a log and peeked inside through a cracked window. Two men, unshaven, armed, and speaking in low voices. One held a map, the other loaded a pistol. Thomas whispered, "Drug traffickers." I recognize one of them from a recent police report. They've been hiding out here. Max growled softly, tail stiff, eyes locked on the shack. Wait, Thomas realized. These men were part of the operation that Max helped bring down years ago. No wonder he remembers their scent. Suddenly, a twig snapped under Mia's foot. "Who's there?" a voice yelled from the shack. One of the men burst out, gun raised, but Max charged. With precise force, he leaped and sank his teeth into the man's arm, knocking the weapon to the ground. The second man tried to run, but Thomas tackled him, holding him at gunpoint until backup arrived. Later, police confirmed it. Max had helped arrest these same criminals years ago during a K-9 mission. He had remembered their scent, their presence, and once again had stopped them. Back at the cabin, Mia held Max's face gently. "You're not just a dog someone left behind," she whispered. "You're a hero, and you'll never be alone again."